Okay, next up, we are going to look at, very briefly, a quick walk around the environment. Okay, I've deliberately used a color scheme so we have dark text on a white background. And I hope that makes it clearer when you look at it on your screen. So, as I said in my previous video, here, this pane here is where code is written. Down here is where your build issues, running issues, and so on are all documented. You'll notice here from my creating the project, everything was successful. I had to get admin and make sure admin rights were permitted to let me open the JDK. Now over here on the left hand side, that was the right, this is the left, let's have a look at 3 crucial areas that you might need to edit. First of all, the code, the Java code. The Java code sits under a Java folder under the name of your project with that com.example in there, if you remember from your installation, and there is your file. If you double click it, you'll see it over here. And what it has is, like a normal Java, it has a package name, it has imports where you have all the libraries you can import. It has a public class main activity. And this, the detail of this is not so important to understand, but it's basically a derived class from something called app compat activity. That wouldn't worry about this too much. Always look for the main activity. And in this particular case, the crucial element I want you to look at is that it has an onCreate, and then within the onCreate, it will create your form. Now, your form or your UI is called an activity. And I'm not sure if you find that helpful, but if you look here, you have R, which means shorthand for resource, the layout subfolder, and there is your form. So look at that structure here. Set content view is basically a way of saying, there is your view, you need to fire it up and use it. And it's broken down in this bracket in these 3 parts with an R, capital R, meaning resources. So if you look over here, it corresponds to this resources folder, RES. Then there's a dot layout. So go down here, you'll see there's a layout. Click on there. And in there, you'll see activity main, activity main.xml. We'll come back to that in a second. That is your user interface attached to this main class. So this is like the code sitting behind and responsible for firing up your UI. And when we develop any kind of interaction on that user interface, we will put it in here when we come to doing it. So again, r.layout corresponds to resources, R for resources, .layout, the folder layout, and there is your XML. So that's the first place that you will spend time writing code. That's where you typically will create all, into this folder, you will add in all your extra classes, all your extra functionality, and you will tie it in this way here as you would do in a normal Java application. The resources, the user interface, is built out of XML. And so what we will do in a later video is talk about how you hook that so you can interact with that, and it throws code back into this area here for you to do stuff with. We'll talk you through that. Finally, the one area I would also point out to you, but at this stage you don't need to worry about it too much, is called the Android manifest. Now if I double click on that, the Android manifest, if you know, it's over here, sorry I've opened it already. This gives you a structure of your application. It tells you the name of the application, my application. It gives you within the main activity, you'll notice there's something called an intent filter. Don't worry what that means. It has action main, action launcher. This is quite obscure to look at first of all, but later on you might find if your code gets messy and the relationship to the files get messy, this is the place to come to tidy those relationships up. Okay, so we won't linger on that too much. Let's come back to our main Java point of entry, the main activity. And remember, activity means user interface for Android Studio application. So R resources.layout folder, in the layout is activity main. Let's go and have a look. Double click on the activity main layout, and you'll notice there are two views for this. One is a design view, which lets you grab components, drag it onto the screen, change their qualities and properties, and there is a text view. Now, the reason I want to just show you the text view, if I can just squeeze it over a bit, give me a second, is that you will notice it's in the form of an XML file. Now, first time you see that, that will look really obscure, but it is not in the slightest bit difficult to understand. If you understand HTML, XML, which is called Extensible Markup Language, is a way of creating your own, having your own custom tags and properties within them, and then other kinds of tags. Now, all I want you to look at is that I have a text view, i.e. a text box, right, which you might have remembered from Swing or other interfaces. And down, if I scroll down, you'll see there's a bit of text called Hello World. If you look at the preview over here, it should say Hello World. So in theory, it's already got a very basic interface built. I just have to come up here and hit play. I won't do that in this video. I just want to end this video by saying these XML and the code behind it are the two main areas you will be interacting with this Android Studio application.